Hello, everybody. This is the IOTA Community Governance call on Thursday, the 10th of November. A good day. We have made a lot of progress. We have put up the application process for the Shimmer Treasury grant reviewers, and we see a lot of amazing people submitting their applications to become a grant reviewer. I'm pretty happy that we finally got the first step going towards becoming a community-driven organization and supporting the ecosystem with the Treasury. So that's really, really nice. Pretty happy. Yeah, and we're here and we can talk about everything and the next steps and whatever you like. Basically, I don't have a real agenda today, so I just basically think, yeah, let's discuss what's going on.
Hey, can we just check the dates real quick? I was just kind of looking at the schedule, and so we've got nomination process up live on yesterday.
Hmm.
And then the Shimmer Treasury Committee final revision that went yesterday.
Hmm.
And then so the growth committee, you're still working on that with
Yeah.
Dom, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And really, I mean that doesn't have to be immediate. Feel like the election scheduling kind of needed to get done. And then so then on the other proposals, so the governance framework, that's really in phase two kind of currently, right?
Kind of. So I basically actually this is a good question. I was thinking about, I mean, didn't have much time today, but I also I was on a call today with somebody and I was really thinking about this whole governance framework. And I'm also thinking about the upcoming December and let's say it like it is, the flood of information that we try to present to the community and the voters. And
Just like last year at this time.
yeah,
It's
and
it's exactly the same. Yeah.
I'm kind of, I don't know how to say, I'm thinking about let's ask it like this. Who of you has read the Shimmer Governance Framework document completely from top to the bottom? In who
Uh,
of those that are in this call? The
about a month ago.
yeah. Um, and I know most of you will have done it, but do we think that voters really, and I mean, to read and understand this document, maybe I'll just,
I don't think they ever will.
yeah.
If your question is that who's going to read this whole thing? I think it's I think it's human nature. Like even like we just had the elections in the US, right?
Yeah.
And there's the whole they publish every state publishes
Mm.
you know, a brochure on all the initiatives that are under referendums, right? Um,
So
Nobody ever reads them.
yeah, I'm just scrolling
They
down, and you will see
they
even
read the short
scrolling it.
paragraph
Yeah,
summary.
even scrolling it down will take 5 minutes. And I mean, it's an amazing piece of work that we all have created here. My question is, do you really think people will be able to make an educated decision in a vote on all these things? Because this basically it takes you a complete weekend to just read and understand the things that are in here. Um,
So
in addition, with the
I would
three other votes that we would get, um, yeah, I don't know. What
well
do
the
you?
question so this is always the case. This
Mhm.
isn't just pertaining to DAOs. This is everything of government and governance, period, right?
Mhm.
Corporate governance, anything. That's why you have people that specialize over time, right? But you still have to produce a document.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, centuries of human voting have proven that we just need to encapsulate the main points. But if people want to be able to be really well versed and know all the details, it's there, but we'll never get people to read it, And also, I think the meaning of a lot of this it's not going to mean a lot to people that haven't been involved in governance calls or DAO operations or the understanding of DAOs and learning about DAOs to at least a certain extent, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so
Uh,
so my thought process is this. How would it be if we create a very, very condensed, I mean, ASA has done already the cool work with the three flyers that basically do the bullet points. I just talked
mhm.
today with Isaus, who's the one that for the content creator now doing the infographics and the thing. And he also mentioned it might, if we would basically be able to put the absolute bullet points in one graphic, and so that people just really understand, okay, this is basically this is the underlying thing. This is basically the mesh that keeps everything together. And here are all the rules. If you ever want to read up something and look up something, this is really just like the book of laws. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
check thing and everything is defined there. Um,
If it can be done, I think we should. If it can be done, I think
mhm,
that's
yeah, and then
almost a
basically
requirement.
then have have them vote actually on, okay, this is the framework. If you really want to know everything, you can find it here, post it here, read it there, but basically put it into a form that people won't click on a link, see it's like too much information for me, and then just say no, I'm ignoring it, because the worst thing that could happen would be that basically um, the vote would fail, either because not enough participation, or people just vote no because they don't understand it. And
What
that's
if
really,
we
yeah.
what if we look at like where actually everyone's using it? And I
Or
agree, it's
already, yeah.
almost too much information, and unless someone's extremely dedicated to diving into understanding all the nuances, but it was definitely needed.
Hmm.
That there's no doubt about that. And I think it's good that we have the specification, but I think it's going to be one of those things where it really just evolves over time through use, you know? Like, I feel like at some point in the current votes with like, no one's really putting a counter proposal, because probably no one wants to put a counter proposal against, Dom's proposal, or, we know that we need a treasury, but eventually there'll be some vote where maybe it's not as so important, and there will be a counter proposal, and that kind of example will show, hey, this is how the process works,
Yeah.
which I actually kind of like, because someone could, we want to take people's, it actually kind of worked. Like, I mean, for instance, with scissors, you can just go around in circles and circles and circles. And finally I was like, all right, man, I see where you're going. I don't know if you're a troll or you're being serious or what, but hey, we've replied as much as we can. Put a counter proposal. Like, we can't just keep
Hmm.
doing this over and over again. And lo and behold, they generally, I haven't seen anyone put a counter proposal in. But, if their, let's say, uh, opinion or other side is, so valuable, then the community is going to support that. Um, I agree that maybe it's almost too much information to go to a Firefly vote, but I think it's clearly shown that, one, the community wanted it because they voted in phase one and phase two, and
Yep.
then three, everyone's using it and it's working. I mean, I think it's working.
Hmm.
Um, so maybe the question is, do we need to do a Firefly vote right now,
Hmm.
you know,
That
on that?
that was also a bit of my thought process. Because really think about the people will open their Firefly wallets if they haven't followed this whole thing. They're not following us on Twitter. They're not here in the Discord, and they still have 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 a voice. They have tokens. They should be able to make some decisions. And then they pop up the governance tab, and they're going to have the first proposal potentially going to be, okay, here, this is a community treasury. The community want to establish this. You have to read through the community treasury framework to understand what's going on there. Okay, cool. Then there are 10 candidates for a committee member. And then basically you would have to read through the 10 applications of these people to know who they are. Then there will be a couple of candidates for the program lead in your Firefly wallet to vote. Also, you will have to go into the forum again, read these proposals, make a decision. And then the fourth vote would be the governance framework, which is basically like you need a whole weekend to read and understand it. Either
What's the alternative, though?
the alternative
What's the
would be
alternative?
maybe we put it on a later stage. Say, okay,
Yeah.
we put the really most important proposals now, and this would basically then be 3, and have the governance framework voted in, I don't know, in January, a month later or something like that, to just have like an establishing or a confirming vote on it. Or we would say we start the first, let's say the first season, we start with it, and then after one season we have an establishing vote. Maybe then also we could still implement some changes if we see, okay, here and there are some hiccups with the thing, and basically have it then, let's say, ratified after the first season officially as a single vote, something like this. I was thinking, I just don't want to overburden people, so they basically shut down Firefly and say, nah, that's too much, I don't care, let somebody else can do this nasty
And
governance stuff. Yeah.
we also discussed about how we were going to sort of try to come up with some test proposal votes, and I think it just organically happened that
Yeah.
these took off. We're definitely testing it, but we could consider this like beta stage right now, you know. And one thing that we haven't, I haven't kept up with because I didn't, it's kind of wait until it got confirmed, but is, we worked on developing that Notion page to where then we can start logging all the
Yeah.
that come in, dates and everything. So I can start doing that and work on some of that sort of project tracking setup stuff. But I kind of agree. I think, if we look at this as we're sort of beta testing it and seeing what works and seeing if any issues arise that we might need to work on, we're testing the moderator actions that come up, which I think have been working really good. But I think, as long as it's working for right now and try to see if there's any issues, there's no point to, at least with all the other votes going on. So yeah, I would second that to try to like.
So basically, like in Q1, we call Q1 the beta stage to confirm our findings that we've developed. Basically, what we can just say it's time to fine tune our first offering, right? And
Or maybe
and adjust, and then maybe after the end of Q1, have a vote to confirm or adjust on that, or is that what you're proposing?
yeah,
And
or even to say, maybe to say, I mean, we did something similar now with the committee selection process. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
we kind of found ourselves in the position to have said, okay, basically we are the ones that have worked on all this stuff the last 18, 20 months. We have now created a process that we think works, and we have established this process basically without going through the whole governance process and have the community voted on how the selection process would be. So basically we took a little bit of a centralized decision here as, let's say, subject matter experts that we could define us. We are already, because most of us do the thing. We could go a similar way with this thing and say, hey, people trust us a little bit. We have done all in our abilities to design this framework. Let's start with this. If anybody wants to change anything on it, do it. Put up a proposal. Everything is open to change. But let's start with this, and then because we anyway had the plan to do this seasonal votes, yeah, to have every quarter have a vote where we basically have all the changes that the moderators would do to the framework, where we see, okay, we need to adjust some parameters, all the changes ratified by the community. And so basically we could really say, okay, let's start now without burden the voters with 4 monster proposals, skip one of those and put this one up at Q2 basically, to to have not too much on the plate now for people. Yeah.
Works for me. Fine. It just occurred to me, and this is totally probably out of context, but it's maybe important. Whoever is a nominee to serve,
Mhm.
I think perhaps we should consider a condition where we need to make sure that there's been a certain period of time of them attending governance meetings, some government meetings, be able to throw their hat into the ring. I don't know what you guys think, but just coming into all of this, I mean, saying, "Hey, I want to do this, but I haven't been involved for the last year and a half." Uh, I don't know if it would be beneficial for the community to bring in somebody who's just coming in with a cold start without having any inkling of how things are working, and all the thought processes that have gone up. I don't know what you guys think.
I know what you mean. It can. I would say it can have it can be a bit of a problem, but I would also say it can be not a bad thing to get, let's say, an outside view or an outside thought into the process. I mean,
For sure.
there will be a steep learning curve for everyone once this thing starts, because I don't know, still whatever we have figured out in our mind here, the committee might probably run into some issues with what our theoretical thoughts mean in the practice. So I'm kind of interested to see which people from outside, let's say outside of this group, apply.
Hmm.
They're still, I mean, most of them are still, if they're part of the community, or even, I mean, we specifically said basically it would be cool if, let's say, somebody from Bankless or somebody from really another
Oh, for sure.
project would come in. So I wouldn't.
But I don't know that it is. I'm not
Mhm.
trying to discourage that at
Yeah, yeah,
all. I want outsider views. I want the outside perspective,
yeah.
but I don't know.
So you
I'm
mean
not.
that they
I'm not
should
stuck on it.
then basically also minimum attend a couple of those meetings here, so basically that they get more known. I think this basically would be anyway good, because let's say the vote would be happening before Christmas, and then until this whole thing is running, let's say there will be 2 months until legal and everything is cleared, or even 3 months.
Hmm.
In this time, people anyway should start to get involved and things like that. Yeah. So but I don't know if it's needed to be a requirement, but it's definitely a
Okay.
good point. Yeah.
It's the thing is we've already kind of went live with it. So with it not being a requirement, one, I mean, I see the pros and cons to both. Like
Yeah,
one,
and I'm not like I'm not hung on this. It just occurred to me in this meeting. It's like, it's like, hey, we're gonna bring somebody in that literally uh, could come in and just be an agitator with just trying to stop stuff from happening, right? Without
I
being
mean,
involved, without, right?
Mm.
So,
I think the framework protects against that. I mean,
okay.
everything's transparent. The program lead, I mean, all that. But I think, someone could bring in a lot of diversification. I mean, we've done amazing job, and we certainly think we're the best in the deal, but we actually haven't been active, right? Someone might come
Oh
in
no,
that,
but we've also gone and we've also tried to be
sure, sure.
inclusive always, right? It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, even if you do all the research that you possibly can, once you go live with something, all of a sudden, things that were theorized and researched, even if they were
oh yeah,
based
we're
on,
gonna find out
yeah.
tons of stuff
So,
that didn't work right or we forgot about or to even
so
consider. That's
so if
part of the
someone
deal.
came into the field that said, "Oh, I've been doing DAOs for 2 years or whatever," I think it could be beneficial in that sense. But the whole team, that would be, of course, to me a negative, and I think. as well as we're IOTA centric. But again, just getting that diversification of, outside our bubble would be a
Oh, for
good thing.
sure.
And
Yeah.
also,
And in no way am I trying to say
yeah,
I don't want that. I'm not
no.
trying to.
I also I
Yeah.
really trust our community here that they kind of. I really think we will get really good people voted in. Yeah, so
Yeah.
people are eager. It's kind of interesting, also kind of this, and I mean we all thought about it, and I think really this selection process now is something really cool for the community. It's very tangible. Yeah, it's not like, oh yeah, there's a framework and there's like a specification blah 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 of something. This is okay. These are people that we know or we might not know. They have good or bad and opinions and things like this. So I think we will see a very strong engagement over the next couple of days behind all these applications. Yeah, once the stuff circulates through the community, I think it's actually a cool thing for the community now, and you already see some feedback and some people. There's a lot of new members coming into the forum currently, um, just because of that. And so I think that's a really good process and progress for the community to have this chance to basically select their people. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, like
so I think we will get quite a good move behind this whole thing. And if we can carry this through towards the Firefly vote, so this is basically creating a nice momentum for the whole thing. So I'm pretty happy that we got it out now, and we see this participation here. So hopefully the community will wake up a bit and really think about, hey, that's basically our chance to really do something. Yeah, take part in things and don't always just let somebody else do anything. Yeah, basically we can vote, we can decide, we can make a decision on things. So well, let's see what's the outcome of that. But it looks pretty cool.
for just kicking off, I've actually been really impressed
Mm.
with the amount of comments and discussions going on with the proposals and especially the revision of the proposals. I think that's just really important. And, I think
Yeah.
what we all envisioned was, hey, someone puts a proposal and gets feedback from the community, revises it, puts it back out, and I think we've been doing that each time. I think that's just really awesome.
I mean, you see here,
So
this
have we
is.
seen anything that's been like any comments where they look like major revisions, or has it all been fine tuning?
Fine tuning, I
Cool.
mean, there's certainly people that are just, oh, I don't like this idea, and that's totally
Yeah.
fair for them to have that, and we can discuss, and then if they are set in their way, said, okay, submit a counter proposal, and then move on with it, But,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, this is as always. People usually use such a forum to offer a critic or a suggestion. People that are happy and supportive, they usually don't write anything. So you basically all the time have to handle a bit the people that have concerns or they are kind of not happy with things. That's the usual thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So
I mean that's why we
yeah,
do it,
that's
right?
why
That's why we have a
that's
forum.
cool. Yeah. But there are no major. I mean, it would be cool, but there are no major suggestions or really things like,
Yeah,
okay,
like no
let's.
massive
No,
revisions
no,
or this
no,
is
and
you
like,
guys have lost your mind. I'm really upset about this. I mean, yeah, nothing
no,
like that.
no,
It's great.
absolutely not.
I
So,
didn't
yeah,
anticipate it, but you
mm,
never know.
yeah, yeah. I
oh,
like a.
I I do like the idea of doing Q1 because even I'm gonna admit myself, I can't remember, exactly what dates the vote go on from phase one to phase two
Mm,
this season. So maybe that stuff we can try to bullet point so then, the moderators and everyone is,
yeah.
ensuring that the forum is following that sort of framework. And I'll have to do a reread through and if we could maybe pull out like
I mean, I have
short.
already, I'm already working on a revised version because, like I said, there are some. This we did pull this out in August, yeah, and so
Mhm.
I'm currently working um, on the revised version already. I have a HackMD here where I'm basically change some things. I also tried wherever possible to shorten things down, even if there's
Mhm.
just a couple of words I can't. But I want to basically minimum get,
Make it
let's
more
say,
concise.
yeah, let's get maybe 2, 3 pages less. Maybe I can also remove some of those examples down there, because we also changed a couple of things since this was out in our mind and our thinking about, especially the emergency
Hmm.
proposal thing, which was a very complex thing with this only 48 hours. But we then all agreed that it's okay that we basically have it once an emergency proposals will come in. Basically, then the other proposal stays on hold, and we do a normal process for the emergency proposal of 7 days poll and stuff like that. So that really made it not so complex, and I could and I will remove some of the very complex parts around the explaining how the counter proposal and or the emergency proposal process works. So this will make the stuff a little bit shorter. But there are a lot of small things that I could improve and change, and but I'm not done with this whole thing. But I really wanted to publish this also maybe really next week, um, so that we have an updated version in the forum, and then can always revise people on that. Okay, these are the rules here. This is how it works with moderators. These are the phases. These are the things. These are the timelines and the dates, and everything is there. Yeah. Um, yeah, but I'm still working on getting this
And then,
updated. Yeah.
uh, would we want to put a draft copy? I thought there was some discussion about, and I don't know when we'd want to do that if we're not going to do the actual firefighter vote, of putting it in GitHub so we'd have a version history.
Yeah, yeah. That's another thing. Yes, I'm also working. Oh yeah, I'm also working on GitHub things. I have added just 2, 3 days ago, because now we also have this the Treasury Committee and the things. So basically, I have added some stuff to the scope of governance. Yeah, so we have the whole repo Shimmer governance here. Yeah, where
Hmm.
we will put all the specification up here. And here we already have the document that defines the scope of governance. Yeah, so basically everything that is currently allowed to put a proposal up for, which are certain program parameters, and then stuff that is around the governance process. Yeah, so proposing, voting mechanics, technologies used. So if somebody wants to implement identity voting or whatever, or change the quorum or the majority rules, this is all there. Um, and then I did a couple of things added here. So the Community Treasury Grant Committee, the rules of how the Treasury should operate. Members of the Shimmer Community Grant Committee can be elected into and removed from the Shimmer Grant Committee using the Shimmer governance framework. So we have stated it really here, so that really if the community is not happy with the grant reviewer, they can put up a proposal using the framework and implement a governance decision if somebody should be removed or also should be elected in. Spending limits, also that they can discard the committee. Yeah, so if the community really says whatever you guys are doing is completely bollocks, yeah, we want this whole thing to be shut down, they can put up a proposal. Or if they want to extend the mandate, of course, this can also be done using the framework. So I did kind of some of the things already added here, so that also this is up to date. And I will also then put the whole governance framework there. Um, I could do it already. I could do already have a draft document up there. I could even should I put up the first version already there, and then we really make some versioning in GitHub
I mean,
also?
Yeah, I
I
think
would,
so.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's cool. Then I will upload the current version, what is in the forum that we basically put up in August there, as let's say version 1, and I'll put then the current second version as a draft there. Yeah, that's a good idea. Then we already start working on GitHub. Then we have really like a change log of
Yeah.
everything. That's
And if
basically
somebody comes in and
yeah.
tries to mess with it, we are protected.
Yeah, basically that's a good idea. I have completely forgot to. I could have done a lot of things in GitHub because you really have the changelog there. Because now I'm kind of
Yeah.
struggling. If you ask me what did I change from version 1 to version 2, I'm pretty sure I cannot tell you every little word or every little point or comma that I
Yeah.
changed. But GitHub would show that. Yeah, so that's actually a good thing. Yeah. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll
Absolutely.
upload. I'll upload I'll do a copy of what we have currently in the governance forum. Put this up at version 1, and then basically draft an update, and then we basically also see all the changes. That's a pretty good idea. Yeah. Cool.
Cool.
What else? Like I said, happy that we have some pretty cool proposals. Everybody that applied, really thanks. You did really well. Um, really good. I'm really impressed of. Again, I have to say, I'm really impressed of the quality of people we have in this community. Kind of. I know you're really nice guys. You all have funny pictures as PFPs, but it was always clear that behind those penguin and robot pigs are really highly skilled people, and it's pretty cool that already a lot of them and a lot of you have brought up their applications and also kind of revealed a lot of private stuff. Yeah, I mean it's also not usual, especially not if you look into other projects, that people basically kind of strip themselves and are so open about their background in this kind of Anon crypto community. And again, that shows us that IOTA community is different. Yeah,
Mm.
that's pretty cool. Yeah. Very interesting to read what you have all achieved in your life already.
It blows my mind when you see other treasury DAOs with like delegates that are handling multi-millions of dollars, hundreds of millions, and they put like one paragraph in a Discord ID, and that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. It's so weird. It's so strange, and it's again, it's part of this industry thing that we're in. Look, I mean, look, SBF was
I was
playing
just gonna say
casino,
that. I mean,
and he was kind
prime
of
example right
he was the
there. Yeah.
poster boy, and he was like sitting in Washington and blah blah blah, and he was a
Going in
com
front of Congress and
complete
Senate.
madness,
Yeah,
full
yeah.
yeah, stuff like crazy. And if you, like you said, if you look in DAOs, if you look in grant committees, if you look in how they do proposals, look in those, really look in the governance forums, they all have a discourse. Uh,
Hmm.
even Bankless, where you really think, hey, this is kind of one of the best DAOs out there. They're prime, and still, things are handled quite lazy there. Kind of, those people, and this is all kind of a bunch of, there's like 150 people, they all know each other, and they get along really good, and they don't need to make super huge explanations for a community of 65,000 Anons out there, how we are doing it. And that's a real difference, I think, that we are kind of, I mean, we are a layer 1 protocol. We are basically a layer 0. Yeah, we are kind of the foundation of an ecosystem of DAOs that usually would spin up on top of us. Yeah, but we are doing this stuff on layer 1, on level 1, and so this is also why we have a much bigger scope of things to do. And I think it's also the reason why we all feel and see that we have to be much more specific, much more detailed, much more exact and profound in how we define things and how we make decisions. Yeah, if you have only a small team of 50 people, they build a cool application, and they have a community Discord, and they have some fans. They all get along really good, and they have like not a market cap of 1 billion and things like this. Yeah, so things are different. Yeah, I mean you see it in the big DAOs like MakerDAO. I mean they do this since years. They are also very very exact, and there's a lot of thing happening. But like you said, a lot of these other communities, DAOs, decision-making processes, they have their little snapshot vote from time to time. 12 people vote, or 7 people vote, or 9 people vote, and 8 of 9 vote for it, and it's kind of strange, yeah. Um, it's really different what we are doing.
Mhm.
Yes. Right.
Cool. What else? So the process is currently, like we said, we're going to have this minimum up for 2 weeks. The applications which would bring us into the 25th of December or something like this. Probably we will be able to keep it even open until, let's say, maybe end of December. And then we could do first week of December the poll for phase 2. Yeah, so then we all really need to make a noise again in the community, and again, every one of you that has gathered then votes need to put them up again on the plate, because the final decision will be phase 2, which will select the 10 that will make it into Firefly. Yeah, and so everyone really needs to put up some emphasis there, that we around towards the end of the phase 1 make some noise again in the community, and get them involved again, so they can make their vote in the poll, and then hope that everything will be fine with Firefly, and we can basically start, I don't know, something like the 8th of or the 7th of December or something like this, with the Firefly vote, which would still bring us shortly before Christmas with having a decision, and then we can all eat some turkey and drink some red wine, and shut down Discord for 2 weeks and come back in January and start doing things. Yeah, I actually really think I need a
That's
little
on
bit
Discord
holiday.
for 2 weeks. Where do you work, man?
I actually really think about in taking a week, really a week off, kind of, which I haven't done since I started working for
Crazy.
IOTA, but it feels like it's coming near to a point where I say, maybe really I stay away for a week.
I think it was last
So,
year, 2020. I remember looking at the developer channel and smart contract, and there's like Eric Hop and two other guys putting up comments. So comments in
Yes.
GitHub at
Yeah.
11 a.m. New Year's Eve, just
Yes.
nonstop. It's right through. They got a
Yeah.
lot done that time.
Yeah. It's really so. And I mean, in the
you
foundation, we
guys are
have
talking crazy talk.
Yeah.
we usually have the first week off in January, but I mean, nearly everybody does it, but me and Antonio kind of think we kind of a bit of addicted, so we can't really stop doing things. The only thing is that Slack is really nice and quiet, because all the others take their holidays. Then only Antonio and me are left hanging around with the community.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you can get your work done, right? Yeah.
Yes. I
Can we,
mean,
sorry,
yep.
can we kind of discuss as like a long term? So if we find a point where we're not so focused on Shimmer governance and treasury and elections and whatnot,
Yep.
what would be the next steps starting to think about the IOTA community treasury then?
Yeah, really good point. Let's be honest, and I would love to implement the IOTA community in this Shimmer Treasury thing. If we
Mhm.
if we figure out that things work well, and we have a setup that just works. Yeah, we have legal entity, we have selected members. My idea basically would be to ask the IOTA community to combine forces and use the experience that has been gained over these, I don't know, 6 months or whatever it will have been running then, um, and and put it together. Yeah. It's just a basic idea where I think we need to put thoughts into it. Does it make sense? Do we want to really, or do we want to have it completely separate, different scope, different whatever? But in the end, from a just logical and practical standpoint, it would really make sense to upgrade this Shimmer community with the IOTA Treasury tokens once they are available. Kind of from my feeling, it would be a good thing to do it. Mm. Everything is in place, very likely everything hopefully works. If we figure out it doesn't work, then of course this would be also a good opportunity to change things. Yeah? So to say, okay, we got 6 months of experience now. We figured out here and there things are really, we're struggling with those. Let's set up a new thing with some changes, integrate the IOTA Treasury into the thing, and whatever. So I think this is a cool opportunity that will come up to think about how we can do this. Yeah. So, but from my personal opinion, I would basically love to have one thing going for everything. Yeah.
Sure. No, it
Yes,
would
I
be more.
agree. I agree with that because it also keeps the overhead a little bit lower, exactly by 50%, to be honest,
Mhm.
because the overhead costs a lot of money and the treasuries are not super big because of current market and so on, of course. But yeah,
Yeah.
this way, reducing overhead is actually should be somewhat of a priority if whenever possible, and this could be definitely possible there. Just having one treasury with two different kinds of currencies, basically.
Mhm. What about what if, because I feel like we haven't fully nailed down, and it's kind of already changing the legal entity.
Yeah.
Would it? I wonder if we can start maybe focusing the next couple meetings on really analyzing
Yeah.
Swiss legal entity versus Marshall Islands, and I think Digital Soul and Linus. I mean, you guys are doing the Marshall Islands, is that correct?
Yes.
With the
Yeah,
CCA.
that's correct.
Yeah,
So,
that's a good point. Like I put it also in the, because I was really, like I said, I was really thinking about that, and I had also a couple of talks with Anya. There is still is all possible, but there might be some things that would work out well to make a combination of Marshall Island and Switzerland, because
mhm,
Switzerland is a clear LLC, so it's a clear for-profit company. Still, you can implement governance rights over votes of the community into the founding statements of this LLC, so that basically the actions of the LLC will still be bound and controlled, or can be controlled by governance votes to a certain amount. But I was thinking basically to have potentially a Marshall Island, which is a much more DAO-like structure, to have a Marshall Island DAO as in the back, and this Marshall Island DAO could hold all the big treasury wallets, let's say this, or operate the governance contracts for the treasuries, the big pots, and this Marshall Island DAO then would be basically owner of the Swiss LLC, yeah, which might have some good advantages and potentially also would make it possible to move the Tangle Ecosystem Association out of this whole thing. Because in the beginning, I think we definitely needed you to set it up in Switzerland, also to save some tech stuff, but also the tech stuff for Marshall Island is quite good. So potentially at a point later, the Tangle ecosystem could move out of this subsidiary relation with the LLC, the GmbH, and this could be exchanged with a fully community-owned Marshall Island DAO that controls the Swiss LLC. So these are some thoughts process that I'm currently having, but yeah, we should explore this, and really I need to get in a call with those Swiss lawyers. Anya is still um, setting up a meeting with them so that these things need to be discussed, because maybe it's possible, maybe not. It's pretty complex, all these different relations that are possible there.
yeah. And I didn't think, I mean, the tax is a big thing too, because like we didn't even really
Mhm.
include that, and sort of it's essentially an overhead cost, if we take into account 300 and 350,000 USDT for the year.
Yeah.
But then whatever's left over is for funding. But now all of a sudden we got to think about, okay, once we convert that into USDT, what percentage of that has to go to tax? Because essentially it's just 100% gain if it's just all given to the DAO, which for some reason I thought the Swiss entity was going to be a nonprofit and we wouldn't have to pay taxes on that. But
yeah, this is the thing. Yeah, this is if you put it as the subsidiary of the association, then it can operate under the association financial non-profit status, and you have this big tax avoiding. Let's say not. No, I didn't say avoiding tax optimization, or however it is officially called. An LLC standing alone, of course, yeah. Then if it's a pure for-profit thing, then you have all the quite. I mean, Switzerland tax are still not high, but higher than as a charitable or non-profitable association, which then can basically implement this tax level also on the LLC, yeah, with different setup things. But this is basically the reason why it was also recommended, and why a lot of DAOs and crypto projects do this, because you can have the tax savings from the association.
Quite a bit of money.
That can be quite a bit of money.
Huge.
Yeah.
And as it gets bigger,
yeah,
it becomes even
bigger.
Right?
But I actually think, and maybe Rob, you can help me out, that also the Marshall Island is basically for the non-profit kind of tax-free. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, right now, the way that it's set up, it's only for nonprofits, but MyDAO is working on a framework for for-profit entities as well. I don't think it's ready yet, but yeah, you shouldn't have to pay taxes. You do have to submit some reports at the end of the year to MyDAO, kind of just explaining your financial situation and, I guess some of your transactions and things. We'll find out more about that at the end of this year. But I mean, I have all of the financial reports for the ICCD, so I assume that will be good enough.
Yeah.
And we'll just see what else they need.
Yeah, I mean, this guy was
I
actually quite easygoing with his things, but it's like you always need to have a lawyer looking over those things again. But yeah, this was also my thought process. I think it could be an interesting combination, because I still really like the MeDAO idea and setup behind, and that you can really implement smart contracts and all these voting functionalities into the core of the functionality, which basically would be a pretty good thing for the community also. Yeah.
Yeah, another good thing about it is you can just list all the members by digital identifier. You only need one person to KYC. Everyone else can just submit their wallet address, and that's all you need. So it's pretty convenient for DAOs.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, because I think there was some discussions of like, okay, for-profit versus nonprofit, and I think some people were saying that in a nonprofit, you can't necessarily make money as a nonprofit. But from what I was doing a little research, and I was finding that in many countries, I didn't look at all of them, but a nonprofit, the only real thing that it can't do as a profit is pay profits out to holders.
Yeah.
So if it's a DAO as a nonprofit, it can earn money, it can hold equity, it can get payback, it could do loans and get interest back, and all the profits then just have to stay in the DAO. It can pay salaries, it can pay conferences, flights, whatever, it can then pay out. So I think the idea that, go ahead.
No, the difference I think is that all these things should happen without intent. Yeah, that's the difference. A non-profit, if it just gets lucky and makes profits because it holds tokens and things like this, yeah, but the purpose or the activity of the organization should not be major profit creating activities. Yeah, so I think this is still cool for a grant giving DAO, but if you would go to a model where you really you give out grants, but you also engage quite a lot in in DeFi. You provide liquidity. You have some staking, some capital here and there, and so basically you're really actively managing the funds that you have to gain profit for the treasury, and basically this is growing the treasury as a purpose of the thing. You would move a little bit away from this charitable thing, and that could be, even if you still don't distribute profits or distribute profits to shareholders and things like this, still if you are moving your activities in a more active profit generating thing, that can be an issue. Yeah, and so this is then better. It's then is what the lawyers say. Then better go for profit directly, because you will avoid this questions. Okay, but why did you put this in a staking thing and you gained 12% per year? This was kind of an intent to create a profit, yeah, which is against the charitable or the non-profit nature of a non-profit foundation. So that's kind of can come back in a bad way, maybe. Yeah.
Well, one way around that might be to take whatever profits you make and use those and give them out as grants,
Absolutely.
during the next.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then you're still in the nonprofit, framework there.
Yeah,
Right.
cool.
I think
Yeah.
that's kind of the intent is and then especially, I mean, they would look at like, well, were those grants tied to the people that are running the DAO? Well, then essentially you're incurring profits and distributing back to yourself. But if you're giving grants that have no affiliation or conflict of interest with the people running the DAO, and you're just truly trying to build the ecosystem, now you're simply earning to support the nonprofit's goal, which is to expand the ecosystem, as in giving out grants, or
Right.
whatever. And then, and that's a good idea about the subsidiary thing, which also offers, protection from the main DAO. But I mean, I guess you could always potentially create a for-profit subsidiary and then put a small percentage in that you want to then pay taxes on that. And maybe do a little bit more of the things that toe the line per se,
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it might be good to have a lawyer too, and maybe give the floor to Linus and Digital Soul on just hearing some of the Marshall Islands aspect, and because I haven't heard pros and cons of each.
I'm really a fan of Marshall Island thing. I really like the setup. It was Rob, you had a couple of struggle with the timelines there because, but it was just Corona hitting the Marshall Islands. But in the end, it all played out well, yeah. And it's still new, so let's see if your first year report will be accepted and smooth. And if the experience shows it works, so I'm really also. I mean, we had these talks, and then everybody was kind of, oh, but Switzerland is like such a trusted thing, and better safe than sorry, and better take an established and really working and bulletproof thing. Switzerland, kind of the safe haven for capital. I think still this is a good reason for starting very serious with this, but yeah, maybe a combination would be a good idea.
Yeah, the other thing about MyDAO
where you
is
guinea pig.
I'm not sure exactly. I mean, the costs that they charge per year are based on the amount of, I want to say the amount of revenue you have in your treasury, but it may actually be the amount of tokens that you hold in the treasury. So that's something to keep in mind. It's not really an issue for the ICCD, as we're dealing with small amounts right now. But if it was 1% of the treasury per year,
yes, there was also this thing. Of course, if you hold 50 million there, and you basically would have to pay 500K per year in service fees. Yeah, that's not cool.
That's something that we would have to look at for sure.
That's huge. Yeah.
We can't do that.
There's always something.
Yeah, I look at. I mean, the Marshall, the things, the rule, the regulations are pretty straightforward. I still have all the documents there. Yeah, and I really just hope I get a call next week with the Swiss Chancellery to really walk through different options and see where the Swiss regulations are in the place in the moment, how we could really implement decision making through voting, through governance votes, how power will be distributed in this thing, which protection and rights and obligations this whole thing really offers. Yeah, and yeah.
Liability protection. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ask Philo if they can't do some sort of smart contract voting system, but Marshall Islands can. Potentially, the Marshall Islands can have a subsidiary or the main DAO, but the funds in there are absolutely minimal, let's say. So if it's 1% and you leave 10,000 USDT in there, that's your annual fee. But all the voting and smart contracts is there, and then any decisions on the main money in the Swiss DAO has to come from the Marshall DAO. If there's some sort of integration there, but rather than leaving the big funds in the Marshall Islands, the big funds are in the Swiss entity. But if they can't include the smart contract decision making, at least the final decision coming from that Marshall Island entity gets sent to the Swiss funds. That might be a workaround.
That's what I meant. I think Switzerland definitely can have blockchain-based decision makings. There are models which are basically, they're made for Ethereum, but same with like in Marshall Island DAO, every EVM compatible chain, that doesn't matter what's the name of the token, those contracts are let's say they are enforceable, and they are also basically acknowledged and under Swiss law. So this is basically kind of an, let's say, government approved smart contract implementation on Ethereum, on the EVM, with
recognized
contracts. They are basically audited and fully compliant with the Swiss regulations. This exists definitely, and this could be then implemented for all kind of things. This is basically quite a simple, but the same thing, majority vote, there is a certain amount of quorum that you need to have for a certain amount of decisions, and blah, blah, blah. This is all pretty good laid out and looks all easy and simple. So this could be done. And basically this fulfills with most of the EVM compatible governance contracts like Compound and stuff like that. But yeah, this really my thinking in the moment is find the best solution, maybe really kickstart the thing from the Swiss association with the Swiss LLC, and then see how potential upgrades or later stages could be done where we are basically grown up again enough, have processes in place, then you need an accountant, you need all this stuff, you need a tax people in Switzerland. Basically, once this is running, maybe really then the TEA could step out and give it over to a completely community thing from Marshall or wherever coming from.
What about
the legal fees are going to be like personal experience. You're going to be like, it's ongoing. And same thing with the accounting, right? So
have that a lawyer.
They're not trivial. They're not trivial, right? And I just want to point out that you're talking about two different countries and possibly two different legal teams. And to be a lawyer in one or the other that have been mentioned, at least Switzerland is fairly spendy. So you're going to be doing a lot of double filing here.
Yeah, that's the thing we have to figure out.
It's a lot of money that you're actually potentially.
If it's worth for the sake. Yeah.
Wish we could pay someone to kind of do like a research review on it and just give us a table of, here are the costs, this, combine the two, single, maybe some other countries we haven't thought of yet,
Yeah.
and do a
And I
full
will
analysis.
just add, I mean, I'm sorry
Mhm.
to interrupt, but you must anticipate regulatory change. And that means possibly redoing everything you just paid for with your lawyers just a month ago.
Yep.
So that doubles down.
If you have two,
Yes.
yeah.
So, in theory, and I'm actually paying for it right now. We chose that technique, right? And I see that's a lesson learned for me. Okay. So we know the regulatory environment is constantly changing. That means constant legal fees. That means doing it in two different places. So just make
Yeah.
sure that you realize that you could be literally burning hundreds of thousands of dollars. You will be burning hundreds of thousands of dollars to maintain that.
Yeah, and that's I think not what this is, like I said, if it's really easier and more convenient and also not so costly to have just this Swiss thing operating, everybody's happy with it. Yeah, cool, go for it. Yeah, because that's basically the costs are quite reasonable. Yeah, you have to put in 20K minimum capital, and you have around 15K max setup
What
costs, and then
what
yeah, you
what
have running costs. Yeah.
what about the reviewers and the program lead? Like, would they have to pay taxes to Switzerland?
No, I mean your personal income tax you always have to pay in the place where you live. Yeah, so
Okay. No, I'm
um,
like
there is of
I've
course
worked.
social security costs involved for
Actually,
Switzerland.
I
Yeah.
Philo,
Uh-huh.
I would have legal advice on that. You need to,
Yeah, that like
yeah,
that's just like what I heard, but that's
yeah.
all.
But I
Yeah.
think that's not. I think it's depend. I'm not sure that's
Mm.
So
100% an
I've worked
absolute.
in several countries around the world, and
Yeah.
I always know Norway would always hit you up with 40% tax, regardless if you were
Yeah,
from another country. The only way around it sometimes was to have, I think, like an LLC in Great Britain, and that was about it. But we would generally just avoid Norway because Denmark, you're good, Germany, you're good, Britain, you're good. Hey, you're only here for 30 days, 60 days.
Yeah.
You pay the taxes in your own country. Uh, but I know Norway was mostly the only unique one. Most of them were pretty good, but it would be good to clarify that, especially since it's
Yeah.
longer
Yeah.
term
I
employment,
have I have these questions already with Anya, but I haven't got the reply. Especially kind of this thing, if there would be, where do people need to pay taxes? Um, for the grant reviewers, there was probably because you do invoice, so there's basically also coming VAT on top of the
hmm
invoice.
yes,
Um, and yeah, there are some social costs for Switzerland. So basically, you have to pay in the something in a pension fund and stuff like this, I think. Yeah, so this is all things we have to collect together. Of course, this will add up to some running costs, even if it's only one full employed person in the thing. But potentially, again, this could be then a good setup with the TEA, because I think to know that there are also some savings or not so strict regulations around this if you are an association compared uh, to an LLC. So
yeah.
but this is also, I talked with Bian about that, and in the end they always want to know, okay, tell me your exact setup, and then we can make an analysis. So tell us exactly what you want to do, and then we can tell you exactly how is the case. We haven't been in this state where everything kind of was worked out, and I think now we are there, and we could potentially really ask Bjorn to make a legal opinion on
and
what, and yeah.
and if a lot of those issues get ironed out and it's easiest to go under the Tangle Ecosystem Association, it might be good to do that for the first year because hopefully by then we're out of this crazy bear market. We've actually funded stuff in the ecosystem. The Shimmer growth has funded stuff, and now the Treasury actually has some value to handle a lot of those startup costs, where right now we're just so lean due to everything being, brand new, as well as in, an economic recession, global recession, as well as inflation and bear market and
Yeah.
central exchange falling left and right. So, I mean, if we could do that TEA for just 1 year to hopefully buffer us through all this, that might be the way to go there. And
I think, anything you can do to reduce costs at this point
yeah,
for year one is just critically important.
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Cool.
Like I said, if as soon as I get some news there, hopefully somewhere next week there will be a meeting with the Swiss people, and but I'm definitely actually I have a meeting on Friday with Anya where we want to go through this again. I had a meeting on Monday with her, and also we are really kind of focusing and working on this stuff out because it should, now that we are coming close, all these things need to be clear also for people when they vote, and we're kind of not messing around anymore. We're kind of coming close to making concrete steps. So time
So
to
you're
move.
thinking maybe next week have the meeting with the lawyers, and hopefully
Yeah.
by the 22nd, the Tuesday after that, so almost just under 2 weeks, we can hopefully get some more clarification on that,
Yeah, I
possibly.
would hope. I would absolutely hope that. I mean, they are also sending emails back and forth. Yeah, so they have already. They have the Swiss Chancellery where that is doing the TEA, so they're in contact with them. But I would basically like to really sit in a meeting and ask some questions that are pretty important for us, I think, and then But I'll try to extract as much information out beforehand. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
All righty.
Alrighty, my friends. Should we call it a day and an early morning for the US people? Time to get a coffee and a breakfast, and for me to disappear into the pillows. Yeah, thanks a lot, everybody. Promote yourself and promote our little project here. People lead them into the governance forum. Push them to read through the things and to like and vote and do everything and tell their friends, kind of, so that we kind of submerge all this information into the wider community and get moving. Thanks a lot, everybody.
All right. Have a good
Bye.
day, guys.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.